let's discuss Man United. Um, another, well, I suppose what everyone's talking about is the performance is a lot better. But again, you get over the halfway line, and we both seen last night at the game that we had nothing going forward. And we'll touch slightly on what Jamie Carragher said last night, well, when he last spoke. Um, he's watched Everton a number of times, he said on Monday Night Football, and he said that it's not down to Moyes because this squad we got isn't the ninth best squad in the Premier League. So David Moyes has done a great job getting Everton to ninth because they're nowhere near the ninth best squad in the Premier League. So a few people have agreed with him and said, yeah, he's probably got a spot on. And I mean, definitely we haven't got a decent striker compared to the top nine. If you look at every team above us, they've um, they've all got a decent striker. So I think it's something that we've definitely got to address. I think everyone understands that. We've got to address the striking options, the left and right back, probably another centre half if Michael Keane decides to sign, but we need a bit more pace. And I think we were both saying last night, why aren't we all pushing forward? And I think the counter attack really outdone us because we got outdone on the counter attack with the pace. So we need I mean, none of our centre halves are blessed with pace. So I suppose that sort of gives you a reason and an answer to the question, why aren't we pushing forward enough? Because maybe we're not as confident as we think going forward to deal with teams on the counter
I
attack.
don't disagree with what you say. I think fans are starting to all come on the same side, or the side of that opinion. I think we all understand that the squad, probably doesn't have the quality in the forward areas that it needs to be competing the top ends of the Premier League. That said, there's always a few teams that punch above the weight. I think you could probably argue there's a couple now in that running, i.e. Brentford, for example, maybe doing what Forest did last season. They've had a couple of bad results, a couple of losses the last few weeks. But that said, they've actually made some really good signings that look going forward are actually scoring goals or creating chances to put the ball in the back of the net. Thiago has been a really good signing. That was a couple of years ago under Frank. He had that horrible cruciate injury, I believe. But he's come good this year. And another Dango Wasara, who came from Bournemouth, has done really well for them. And they seem to have a style of play that suits their system that their players are playing in. I'd argue personally that Moyes is potentially still a little bit, I think scared is the right word, but there's definitely some sort of something holding him back. And maybe it is the quality of players that he has at his disposal that don't really meet what he wants to kind of put out on the pitch. I mean, going with Harrison again on the left wing yesterday, I thought was fairly negative. He does a lot of work. He did a lot of work and he continues to do a lot of work, but he's clearly a centre midfielder playing out wide and it's not quite right. Um, you could see that when we had an opportunity to break forward, we'd slow it down, we'd pass it back. That's not progressive. That's not going to win your matches, and we've seen that far too often at home. Whereas away from home, sit deep, hit on the counter, or at least because this defensive line is so good away from home, they're willing to take that risky pass forward, and it's worked, and it has worked. So the second half to Fulham, it was again, as you mentioned many times in the video, highlighted Jekyll and Hyde. Yesterday wasn't. I thought second half was slightly better than the first, but we go and get beat 1-0. And it was a counter-attack goal that we would have been proud of as the away team ourselves.
We were comfortable,
Um,
weren't we? We were comfortable yesterday. I mean, watching the game and set up, I think we kept our shape throughout the game, and we were comfortable. Like I didn't go into half time thinking, well, I'm nervous here, but you said it, we'll lose 1-0 here because it's just what we do at the moment at home. And I think, I don't know if it's, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes in training. And so whether Patterson and then the rest of the gang that aren't playing aren't up to the level, and Moyes is not going to play players that aren't good enough for Everton Football Club. I think more of a case of square pegs and round holes again. And he's done it throughout his time, both occasions at Everton. Um, Osman wasn't a right winger, but he played him out on the right. Um, you know, Lescott when he first signed wasn't a left back, but he played him left back. And it might work if some players are adaptable. Jimmy Garner was superb again last night, but I think he's more suited in the centre mid because you've got a bit of pace there and he might be able to drop back in and do them recovery tackles where if you haven't got him in centre mid, we haven't got that. So square pegs and round holes, and it is frustrating when Yesterday United were there for the taking.
They were. I said that to you. I said that to you halfway through the first half. But they had a game plan. Um, give them some credit, I suppose, because I think they saw the lineup from Everton. What, an hour and a half out? We were getting messages an hour and a half out. That who was Garner was right back, and Harrison likely left wing. And I think they would have known that. They would have seen that. It was the same team, I think, that pretty much started minus O'Brien, the game before last, against Fulham. I think Harrison started on the left wing. Um, and George came on late on, and we won that away at Fulham. But that's been the tale of the season, isn't it? I just think there came a time, 63, 64 minutes, I was screaming, make the subs now. We were on top. We were progressively breaking them down, getting chances after chances. I think Harrison Armstrong had a good effort. I think then Dewsbury Hall's had a couple of efforts. There's been chances. And while you're on it, strike while you're on it. Do you know what I mean? You don't wait. And he's got a tendency, and he has always had a tendency to wait too long or make the wrong sub. Well, even if he wants to keep Harrison Armstrong on because he offers something different, then replace Tim Rabunum or Garnagay. But he won't take off the big hitters. He very, very rarely substitutes Njai, Dewsbury Hall, or Garnagay. And listen, don't get me wrong, you need experience on the football pitch, but they're all professional football players playing at the top level. If he didn't trust Harrison Armstrong, he wouldn't be starting him. He wouldn't have kept him. Same with any player that starts on that pitch. Anyone in the squad, lots of people have said it, and it's clear to see when Moyes works best when he has no choice and he gets the best out of what he's got. And that's not a bad bunch because I don't like that kind of saying, but he does well when the pressure's on and there's no hope. The underdog kind of mentality, and he's done that everywhere he's been.
I think when he has a bigger squad and more quality, he might maybe he won't, but I think the time will tell. If he's going to struggle with a better and bigger squad, like you said, he's used to having 14 players, and that's it. And he gets the best out of them when we're struggling, which we've seen this season when we've had loads of injuries.
He has, mate, and I think you could look back even everywhere he's been. I think even in Sociedad, a very small squad, mate. Didn't work wonders there, but again, he touches back on that when he comes out and he says the experience matters. I'm not too sure. Obviously, he's extremely experienced manager, and he's one of the best managers around statistically. You know what I mean? Because he's been there for so long. But I'm not digging him out yet. It sounds like I'm digging him out. I've got all the respect in the world. There's a love for Davy Moyes because of what he's brought to this club. He brought us back to where we should have been competing in Europe. We were competing for titles, before I was born, and I never got to see that. But there's a generation or a couple of generations of fans who have seen us at the very, very elite of football. But we never seemed to recover until Moyes came back in. All them years and the dogged years of being down the bottom year upon year. The odd year with Joe Royle, great FA Cup win, European football again, straight off the edge of a cliff. Moyes got us consistently competing for a good 7, 8, 9 years out of that 11. 2 years, I think, were fairly poor. I think we finished 11th and 17th, if I'm mistaken. It was something like that anyway. But for the majority of that time, Champions League, all right, it went south, and then we got hammered by, I think, Bucharest, wasn't it, in the qualifiers? But the head's gone. But he still got them to turn around. I think we finished 11th that season. The season after, we then consistently built. And one thing that he did well is that we kept breaking our transfer record year upon year. It was Yakuba one year, Andy Johnson, James Beattie, Marion Fellaini, so on and so forth. Competed with Arsenal for Morales, everyone forgets that. He had Arsenal or Everton from Olympiacos. Again, I think it was Olympiacos. He chose Everton. So clearly there was a pull. But my point is that he had support, but it was only limited. So he had to do the most of what he had. Now he's probably going to have a war chest in the summer in retrospective terms of what he's used to.
And I said at the beginning, my prediction was 9th to 14th, and I stick by that, and I'm spot on at the moment because I think that's where our squad is between them. And if we finish 14th, then that's where we're meant to finish. I think the summer's massive, and it's a slow process.
I agree with you to a degree. And I agree. I understand what you mentioned about Carragher before, and I did see that. And listen, he's got a point, and he knows football inside out. He's been in the game for a long time, so I'm not gonna challenge his thought. But the one thing we always say is that the table doesn't lie. So either he's saying the table's false and we haven't earned it, but that would then negate everything that's gone on this season. You know what I mean? It's like saying Arsenal deserve to be top. They do deserve to be top because they're top. Do you know what I mean? It's same with Wolves being bottom. They're bottom because they've not been
No, I
very good.
think
They don't score goals.
we are where we're meant to be, but I think
Yeah, but he made
Carragher
out
was
that we're not the
making out
ninth.
that
We're not the ninth best team in the league. Or
we haven't got the ninth best squad. He said, which I agree. I don't think we've got the ninth best squad in the Premier League. The teams that are below us, Fulham, Newcastle, have Newcastle got a better squad overall? I don't want to go man to man here, but
it would be hard to say no because obviously they're doing so well. You know what I mean?
right, what about
In the
Sunderland?
league,
Sunderland at 12th. Have
no,
they
I
got
don't.
all right?
No, I
Crystal
don't think they do.
Palace, no.
No, they've lost all the best players. You take a couple, but you would from every team, wouldn't you?
Brighton, they got a better squad than us overall.
So I think a lot of them are unproven. Anyone can name in the first 11 without looking at a team sheet. It'd be very difficult to actually name the first 11 from the last. Wouldn't know, would you? Because you don't know half the players because they
Yeah,
come
yeah.
from like
What about
random
Leeds? Have
leagues.
they got a better squad than us?
Definitely
Okay.
not.
Spurs, have they got a better squad?
Fully fit, yeah, but that's the problem. They've only got
Yeah.
13 or 14 fit players
Well,
at the
I'm just
moment. So
going on
yeah,
the over. If everyone's fit, right? Say everyone for the argument,
yeah.
everyone's fit. Nottingham Forest, they got a better squad than us.
I,
Chris Wood
it,
fully fit.
I, I'm not a fan of Chris Wood, but it is that's harsh. But I just don't like his style of play.
Yeah.
I like players who've got a
And
bit of
then
pace, but
West Ham, have they got a better squad than us?
no, I
No,
don't agree.
I'm
I
not
don't
going
think
to
they have.
include Burnley and Wolves in this because I don't think they have. But there's probably two, one, two, three, maybe four teams. If I'm look, I think Fulham have got a decent squad. They've got a striker who can bloody score anyway, and he's about 50.
Yeah.
You got Newcastle and Brighton and Spurs. I mean, Spurs. There's an argument for all the teams. Obviously, people may disagree, but
Well,
there's probably
if you were to put David Moyes in charge of Spurs, they wouldn't be 17th, would they? So that's I get what you're saying, and that's what I mean. The fans who are kicking off with Moyes, I don't think they like dislike him. It's just that he doesn't change games. He doesn't affect games very well. His in-game management's pretty poor and it always has been. And it really, for large parts, it riddled me of Dyche era. Side to side to side to side to back to side to, it was just so predictable. And then we'd lose it and they'd counter and that's how they end up getting the goal. And they should have had two or three goals realistically on the counter. Sesko should have scored a second, and obviously Ahmed in the first half was actually from a counter attack originally. It came out wide, and he probably should have buried it. Could keep him from Pickford a couple of times, but we never created one of them chances because United sat so deep,
yeah, they did.
and we didn't press effectively. And when we did, we then didn't actually take a pop at goal or make a run forward. We just recycled it, and it was
The only one who had any
that's
meaningful shot at the goal and made the keeper work was Michael Keane.
which how many times have we said? How many years have we said that
Yeah.
for?
I
Because
wanna
it's the same. It's the same every time.
I want to touch on because we spoke, didn't we? And we're missing Jack Grealish, and people would moan about him saying he slows game down too much. He doesn't get past his man, blah blah blah. But what he does, he draws defenders away, and sometimes he's got two men on him a lot of the time. You know, they're right back and right mid's usually marking him, and then he brings players away, so it creates space for like Dewsbury Hall or Garner Gay, not Garner Gay, sorry, James Garner if he's pushing forward, and we miss that bit of creativity or vision that he has, and I think it opens up things in the final third. But and then I don't really want to touch on the strikers, but we're not going to. I said a month ago, didn't I, on one of the podcasts? I said but it's going to come. It's going to be our undoing. Not having a goal scorer. It's going to be our undoing. It's all well and good when our midfielders are popping up with goals and all that, but when the strikers aren't scoring and the midfielders aren't scoring, we're going to be struggling. I said that a few weeks back, and lo and behold, we're not scoring goals.
You're bang on, mate. You're bang on. I'm not one to dig out play. I'm not going to be sat here digging out players. But it's not good enough. Barry and Beto right now are not good enough. As I said, my opinion on Barry is that he shouldn't be the first team striker. Like we should rely on him to play 35 plus games a season and score 15, 20 goals. I just don't think he's ready for that in the Premier League because as everyone knows, the Premier League is the hardest league in the world. Whether people disagree, agree, I don't. It's up for debate for them individually. But the Prem has proven to be the cesspit of many a good player, a lot better, a lot more proven than likes of Tierno Barry with his first season in the Premier League. I think he's done okay.
I, I mean, I think everyone knows my opinion on Barry. I don't think his touch is fantastic. I think he jumps for headers and there's no one running off him anyway, so it's pointless. Hold on, hold the ball up, wait for players to support you, then lay it off. But I want to say one thing, right? So we're going about, Barry's in the Prem, and I know it's different for every striker. There's a striker for Brentford called Thiago, right? He's 24 years of age. He had that terrible injury last season, and he's got 17 goals in 34 games for Brentford since 2024. This season, obviously, he's doing absolutely fabulous. Now, he came from the Belgian league, Club Bruges, um, where his stats are similar, actually. 18 goals and 34 in a season for Club Bruges. He's doing really well. Now, he could be having a one-off good season, but I'm not too sure. Now, why don't we look for someone like that in the summer? Proven goal scorer in the Premier League.
Don't know, and it's always baffled me. Um, I like him as well. He's big, bustly, got a bit of pace, got a bit of quality, got a little bit of attitude about
Yeah,
him. You know what I mean?
attitude, and that's a point, Liam, right? And I said last night, we are far too kind as a team. It's like Bruno Fernandes. I absolutely despise him, but I'd love him in Everton shirt because he's a gobshite. He winds up players. He causes issues. He stands on people. He elbows and does this and that. We've got no nastiness in our team. There's no one. There's no one in our team. Maybe Tarky now and again, but it's far too soft, and that comes across on the pitch. Too soft. No one. Jimmy Garner puts in a good challenge. That's about it. No one else. There's no nastiness about it. It's not like back in the day where you'd have certain players that give a bit. We just seem too soft.
We are, mate. We are. We never used to be like that. I don't know where it's gone because that Everton kind of shithousery, basically. We need to fix that. We need to find it. We need to find a remedy, but you need to do that. You need to have goal scorers in the pitch. And that's one thing you've mentioned. You mentioned Grealish at the start of that segment then, and you're right. We miss him because he offers something different and it allows players, he slows the ball down to allow players to get past him and up and actually support him. Because usually he's the first line of attack along with Barry or maybe Njai or Dewsbury Hall. We don't have that now. And Harrison can't do that. Harrison Armstrong can't do that on the left wing. You need someone like a George or a Dibbling. So, and everyone's going to write that Dibbling off, and that's fair enough. He's not been good enough, but he's a winger, so naturally he's going to look forward, and that's what we need.